Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Health Innovation Community Partnership. It is our monthly meeting of July. Happy middle of summer. Really excited to see everyone today. And we're going to give it another minute just to get a few more people on. And I'll hand it over to Elijah to start um, our guidance around audio and tech.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining our July Health Innovation Community Partnership. Here are some tech tips for the Zoom meeting. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the hicpla.org website. All attendees, please mute yourself unless you are speaking. Turn your audio and video on or off by clicking the microphone or camera button in the bottom. Click the raise hand button if you want to ask a question. Type questions in the chat. Interpretation allows you to attend in your language of choice. Today's agenda, we will be starting off with our welcomes. Then we'll be meeting the meeting overview and guiding principle. Then we'll have a Los Angeles General Medical Center update, followed by the community health update, then a housing ordinance updates, and then lastly, campus projects, restorative care village, Centennial. And then in the final, it will be partner announcements. The HICP guiding principles are all participants agree to basic principles prioritizing equity, community, resilience, and health in all programs and projects. All participants agree to approach issues with an open mind, be willing to engage in dialogue, and commit to thinking boldly about solutions. Participants will state views and ask genuine questions. Participants will seek to avoid monologues and arguments. Move to conversations where participants are curious and seek to understand various points of view. Participants will explain reasoning and intent, share how we reach our conclusions so that others can understand our divergent reasoning. Participants will attack the problem and not the person, organization, or institution. Participants will define key terms so that we can attain a shared understanding. Participants will share all relevant information. Participants will always arrive prepared for the meeting. During meetings, only one person speaks at a time, and we will not engage in sidebar conversations. Participants will work to develop a comprehensive, common set of information with which to solve problems and make decisions. Lastly, participants will jointly design next steps. And then over to you, Rosa.
Well, wonderful. So again, everyone, welcome to the July meeting of the Health Innovation Community Partnership. I'm Rosa Soto with the partnership and with Los Angeles General Medical Center Foundation. Really excited to join everyone for a rich, full discussion about our future um, of our campus and some updates around our medical center today. Heather Hayes is out on a few days vacation, so really, really excited that she's taking some time off. So, and of course, she's missed because she's so good at running these meetings. But we appreciate everyone's time today, and I will hand it over to Dr. Karla Gonzalez, our medical director of urgent care and of the Wellness Center. Welcome, Karla.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Just doing a little sound check here. Can everybody hear me? Sound is okay? All right.
Yes, you sound good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's such a great honor for me to be here this morning to share some words on behalf of our medical center. And, I really want to just kind of speak from the heart today and let you know that I've been in many conversations with our healthcare professionals, our nurses, our social workers, really all of our staff that is here. And, we have this privilege of being able to stand with our communities, especially during these moments that are uncertain and that can cause a lot of fear. And we do recognize that the recent ICE activity in Los Angeles has caused a lot of anxiety and some distress among not only our patients, but also their families and also just our entire community. It's a fear that is very real. And what we want you to know, what we want you all to know from us, all of us as an LA General family to you is that we see you, we hear you, and that we stand with you. At the Department of the Health Services, our mission is to provide compassionate, equitable, and accessible care to all, regardless of immigration status. And that has always and will always stand firm. So we want to assure our communities that DHS, the Department of Health Services, does not participate in immigration enforcement. We do not share information with ICE or other immigration authorities, and we remain a safe and confidential place to seek care without fear. And some of the things that we've done, maybe we'll go to the next slide. Perfect. So some of the things that we're doing and that we're promoting here for our community and our patients is to let you know that we have other ways of getting in touch with you and you getting in touch with us so that we can continue to provide that care. Some of the options that we have, and we're doing more of these every day, video and phone visits that allow you to see your provider from the safety of your home. There's something else called e-visits. That's through the LA Health Portal. We at the Wellness Center are working on learning how to help you all enroll in that health portal, and we have access to navigators who can help you navigate that health portal and get on board and be able to use it. These portals allow you to interact with your care team and be able to get some responses from them as well. There's also something called the Nurse Advice Line, a wonderful resource. It opens at 7 a.m. and it closes at 10 p.m. I highly encourage everyone to call if they need anything or have any questions. There's a nurse on the other line who can triage and ask all the important questions to make sure that you get the care that you need. And the number for that is 844-804-0055. And next, I do want to talk about our pharmacy care. I think that's the next slide. So this is a wonderful resource. Our pharmacy is actually open 24 hours. And we have now the availability to be able to deliver prescriptions free to the home. We've been doing this for a long time, but it's something that we really want to promote at this time. Free mail delivery, you can call us, you can do it by phone, or you can use your My Wellness portal to let your provider know that you need a refill of your medication, and you will receive that medication in the mail. So many ways to be able to get in touch with you. I assure you that we all want you to reach out to us. We have been doing our best also to reach out when we know somebody hasn't arrived to their appointment. We are worried, we are concerned, and we are right there with you. So thank you this morning. I just want to say that I'm here. I have some hope. I have some, you guys give me strength to keep on doing what we're doing. So thank you all for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karla Gonzalez. Before we move to the next item, I want to make sure that we open up for any questions that anyone might have for Dr. Gonzalez related to our care here on campus, our opportunity to serve you. I know these are trying times, as you shared, Dr. Gonzalez, and all of our teams within our foundation, our wellness center, and within Health Innovation Community Partnership have been holding space to ensure that we are answering questions, that we are helping to guide solutions and opportunities for us to ensure that everyone gets the highest level of care they need. We can't imagine what it's like for our community on an everyday basis, with things changing and becoming more and more drastic and harsh in terms of that experience of just engaging in everyday life. And so we want to make sure that if there's any way that our hospital can become more accessible, our partnership can become more accessible, our wellness center can be a way to help you navigate through all of the different systems. We're here to support you and to ensure that anything that we learn, even from the experience of helping you, can also help others. So let me pause there and see if there's any comments or questions from anyone that we can definitely address today.
This is Ari. I have a question.
Go ahead,
Can
Ari.
you hear me
Good
okay?
morning.
Okay,
We
thanks.
can.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Well, I have two items. One is, I appreciate the statements and the policy in terms of not cooperating with ICE, not giving information, all that. But I think what we've seen happen through the documented videos posted on social media is that sometimes the ICE themselves will cross the line, like they'll go in the back, they'll go in the restaurant, but they'll go in the back kitchen. And the proprietors need to know what their rights are in terms of allowing these individuals to enter into the private area versus the public area. And so I'm wondering if and some organizations are distributing signage as to that right, making an announcement to anybody who would attempt to cross the line. So wondering, number one, whether or not there is any signage at the hospital that would not only notify, hopefully prevent, but also appease the concerns of the public who uses that space. And then in concern for time, I want to ask the second question, and that is, with people that I've discussed, their concerns and their worries, in articles that I've read, I think one of the things that helps people is to understand what is their plan should something happen. And, should their parent be taken away? I have friends who said they lived with that fear and instruction by their parents when they were young. And so we're there again. We need to have a plan for, number one, what would the kids do? How do we find out where the individual was taken? What if they are deported? What would they do there? All those things. I think that if there is a plan for an individual, it helps and a family, it may help to appease the worries. And so maybe that's something that the Wellness Center could assist and support.
All very thoughtful comments and questions. And I do want to pause as well. I see Marco Torres on our call. Marco, welcome. Marco Torres is our new Chief Operating Officer at the Medical Center at LA General. And he comes to us from the community and with a lot of experience working in hospital systems. And I will hand it over to Marco just to say hello, but I want to make sure that we're able to address some of the things you uplifted, Ari. So from the perspective of the Wellness Center, we are working with our partners to ensure that we can share out any of the planning that is being done to support families that are affected by either a removal or a detainment. And we're trying to ensure that we can have easy access to that kind of information. There's also a series of community talks and town halls that are occurring. Maybe that is something that we can regularly post on our newsletter to make sure that folks have access to that information. And then at the Wellness Center, I can share that, we have done an assessment of public spaces versus private spaces, because as you know, a lot of what we do supports patient needs that are confidential, as an example. And so we want to make sure that people still feel safe coming if they're participating in sensitive programs, such as domestic violence classes or health related classes, support visiting one of our attorneys, or maybe assessing their healthcare enrollment. And so those areas are all designated private when there's a consult that is being had. public spaces are also designated, and it does allow for us to be very specific about where anyone can enter. We mirrored that on the recommendations from the county and DHS. I also see Connie Castro is on, so either Marco or Connie, if you want to address how the hospital is handling patient care and patient spaces versus public spaces. Let's go there next, and then we can continue with some of the other areas you mentioned, Ari.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Rosa, for the warm introduction. I'm excited to be on here and meet some of the community leaders and organizations that we're working with. And again, just want to reiterate Dr. Gonzalez's chat message. And, we are actively working with our DHS leaders on signage to identify the specific public and private spaces. So we'll keep focusing on that, and as things come up, we'll share it with the group.
Thank you so much. And welcome again, Marco. Really excited to have you on board, and hoping that at our next in-person, people can meet you and be able to, see the warm connection that we've all felt with you since you've started with us.
Thank you. I did notice that some of our stuff is in English and Spanish. So for those and I just saw a chat that came in Spanish. So mucho gusto. Gracias por la introducción, Rosa. Estoy muy excitado de estar en este grupo y participar en esta conversación. Y el LA General está trabajando con el Departamento de Salud para hacer, ¿cómo se dice? Signage, para anunciar, pues, qué son los espacios públicos y qué son los espacios privados. Cuando más información venga, nosotros vamos a compartir con el grupo. Muchas gracias.
And to our medical center team, I don't know if this is something that, like you have full awareness of. I imagine you might, if there has been, because I think over the last week, there's been a lot of attention of ICE being in hospitals. I think once you dig into some of the stories, it isn't that they're inside the hospitals, it's that they may be monitoring someone there. But there have been, some incidents that are concerning. So have there been any interactions with ICE where we feel like there is presence of ICE on campus with that would be of concern to general public?
Rosa, I think I can speak somewhat to that. The DHS has been extremely helpful in sending out weekly reminders, and these come out, I think, every Monday, to let us know and to reassure us that ICE has not been on the premises, so that doing any sort of removals or investigations. So we get those updates on a weekly basis. And I am happy to report that we continue to get those, and I do send them out to some of our wellness center colleagues, and they're obviously very reassuring to all of us.
Thank you so very much for that. And I see some of our partners that are actually on the front lines of supporting some of the document development around how to support parents and families who might be preparing for any experience with ICE. If you could share what kind of resources might be available. We'll take a few more minutes and then we'll move on to our next topic. Yolanda, good morning. I see your hand up.
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, obviously our community is just suffering from living in the shadows, and I can't thank all of our community members and partners who are doing such great work. I know Diego is willing to let everyone know how Elma is helping in just one small area. So if you can, Diego, can you share?
Absolutely, and good morning, everyone. Definitely incredibly difficult times for our communities, our families. We've been able to work both at the individual level, the family level, and in partnership also with some other community stakeholders. At the individual and family level, we are providing counseling, behavioral health support, and of course, we might not label in a way that overly cause attention, right, to one specific issue, because we know that our families are struggling with a number of different stressors at this time. But we are providing anxiety management support, grief support, but also helping parents, to Adi's comment earlier, parents plan for their families in case of separation, in case of any type of legal issues or other major issues that they might face, right? The food insecurity, housing security, in relation to immigration enforcement. In terms of, larger numbers of families, we have been able to bring families together, either at our sites or virtually, still, despite all that is going on, to provide them support with Know Your Rights, and of course, to link them to different resources. And we've been very blessed to have a number of different partners reach out and offer their support as well, but also to just assess their needs and make sure that they are connected with food distribution opportunities right now, or taking food and resources to them, making sure that they are not missing their appointments, right, to the purpose of this meeting today, and that they are following up in a safe way, of course, in a safe manner, to ensure that other problems do not exacerbate, right, during this difficult time.
Diego, and I think that point is probably worth emphasizing. We've had to reinvent our manners of service, our performance, back to the pandemic era, where we are going to them. We're going to families who are afraid to go, who are shuttered. So we really will help with getting groceries to them, getting them to the doctor's appointments, making sure that all of our spaces, like at the Wellness Center and at any of our locations, are marked private spaces. So, so that they can feel secure and safe, and reaching out to the churches to encourage them, to ask them not to show up for, that it's okay not to show up for services, because they're trying to balance their cultural and spiritual life, and no one wants to put their safety at risk. So that believe it or not, that struggle between their spiritual life, trying to maintain their spiritual life, and be safe, are two very powerful struggles for them. So we're asking them to and working with the parish leaders to tell them that it's okay to stay home if they feel that they are in peril.
And one final thing, thank you so much, Yolanda. One final thing is for all of us, right, to be very cognizant of the digital divide and how many families might not have the means, right, to virtually attend appointments. And again, at Alma, we have provided families with tablets, with other means to connect to their appointments, to stay connected to services. And we have worked with partners in the past to expand that. So it's definitely a way in which we've been creative to ensure that we're not just suggesting ways of connecting remotely, but we are providing means, right, to the families to stay connected.
Well, thank you so very much, Yolanda and Diego, for all of the resources that Alma is offering right now, and has been offering through the pandemic and beyond. We are really heartened by the partnerships that we have, and the way in which we can reach on each other to ensure that we support our community in the best way possible. On that note, Cassidy Bennett has put forth resources in English and Spanish from Public Counsel, particularly around family preparedness. So please look at those attachments. I don't know, Cassidy, if you have anything to share, or our Neighborhood Legal Services team, but we can definitely prepare for an update and presentation in August, or if we have a hiatus in September, to ensure that we can continue to get up to the minute information out into our community.
Yeah, Rosa, thank you. We definitely could do, and when Heather's back or whoever's best to communicate with, we can talk about doing an update. I know we did more of a like nonprofit or small business centered preparation presentation a couple months ago, and those resources are on that link too. If anybody wants to review, especially related to the private public spaces difference, it can be just signage enough is not just signage alone is not enough. So just making sure that you're doing those other things as well. But yeah, we could definitely come back and do another update.
Wonderful. We really appreciate that, Cassidy, and all of the incredible work that you and the other attorney partners are doing to ensure that the most needed aspect of this for those who are detained is understanding of how to navigate that legal system. So thank you so much for all of the work that you all are doing each and every day. So with that, I feel like we've taken a lot more time, and if Heather were here, she'd be really pushing for us to go to the next item on the agenda. So I will do my steward best here and steward things along. So I want to introduce Dr. Valerie Otti, USC's Keck Family Medicine Residency Program, to talk about our well, it's an update on health and wellness, but in particular, she's going to be talking about hidden ingredients in common medicine. Dr. Otti?
Hi, everyone. I'm Valerie Otti. I'm a family medicine resident at Keck, and I'm excited and honored to be here to discuss Artery and Ortega products. So, the first thing is why am I talking about it? Specifically, Artery King is a product that contains dangerous drugs that are hidden and not on the label. And the US Food and Drug Administration issued multiple warnings against these medications. And I wanted to just briefly talk about like what the Food and Drug Administration does. They're responsible for protecting the public health by ensuring the safety and security of drugs, human and animal drugs, and biological products, as well as medical devices. And I have pictures here so you can see the different names that this medication has, because they're sometimes come back and they are resold as different names. I'm not sure if it's very clear, but there's Artery Ajo King, and then there's Artery King, there's Ortega Ajo Rey, and then there's Ortega Ajo Rey Extra 14. So these are the ones that the FDA has issued multiple warnings against, and I just wanted you to see the different bottles and the different containers that they may come in. And so why are we selling this widely? A lot of people are getting these, they're called vitamins and supplements, but they're not necessarily vitamins and supplements. And I'll go into that a little bit more in the slides ahead. But they're marketing them or selling them as vitamins and supplements for arthritis, muscle pain, osteoporosis, and bone cancer. And so the most important part that we're worried about and that FDA is issuing the warning against, and why I am here to discuss this briefly, is the hidden drugs that are in these medications. So they may, in fact, work well and help with pain and help people feel overall well, but there are three different medications that have been listed that are in the drugs but are not on the label. And I'll talk more about this. If a drug is not on the label, that is already a concerning factor. You need to have all the drugs that are in this medication listed on the label. That's a safety concern. So the first one here is dexamethasone. It's a steroid, a corticosteroid, and it can lead to decreased immunity. Infections here can lead to increased blood sugar level. It can affect your blood pressure. It can affect your bones, and it can also cause mood problems. And it can also affect your adrenal gland. Your adrenal gland is an organ that helps you respond appropriately in times of stress or trauma or after a surgery. So your body can just maintain its sugar levels, maintain health, even though the body is being stressed. And then the next one is diclofenac sodium. This is an anti-inflammatory drug. And having this medication in this drug without it being labeled, there's some side effects that we think about. If you take too much of the anti-inflammatory medications, can lead to heart attacks, can lead to strokes, could lead to stomach bleeding or ulcers, and it could affect the liver or the kidney. And the last one here is methylcarbamol. It's a muscle relaxant. It can cause drowsiness or sedation. It can cause dizziness, and it can affect your blood pressure, cause your blood pressure to go low. So, like I mentioned, it's not on the label, so it's a problem because people are taking these drugs and they don't know what exactly they're taking. And multiple reasons why this could be a problem. One is just you don't know what you're taking. It's important for you to be informed about what you're taking. And if you are taking other drugs, it might interact with all those medications that I just listed previously, and you wouldn't know because it's not listed. And it's important to also know that as I'm saying that I am advising against starting these medications at all. If you have already started it, you should talk to your provider before stopping these medications, because if you stop them suddenly, they can cause issues. So if you're not on them, I would advise not to get on them. And if you are already on these medications, then I would say talk to your provider before stopping these medications. And the FDA, like I talked about, reported the reasons why they're issuing warnings against these medications is because they reported multiple people that got stomach bleeding and ulcers, adrenal problems. So the adrenal problems is very significant because if you need to go in for a surgery, like maybe a knee replacement, then you could have issues where your body is not responding appropriately and they need to give you a lot of steroids, for example. So adrenal problems, liver problems, and increased sugar levels. And these specific problems affect people who might have diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart and kidney problems. So these are common problems that like individuals all over have, and it's important for us to take note of these medications that are not listed, as they can affect individuals with diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart and kidney problems. So there are a lot of consequences that we need to pay attention to. And finally, actions that you can take is making sure that you're speaking with your provider before taking any over-the-counter medications. Um, and your provider can also check the medications and then report the drugs to the FDA. in order to remove them, because they shouldn't be selling these medications that don't have the labels of the exact drugs that are in these medications. So it's important that we, as your providers, can see them and report them so people don't have to get access to these medications. And it's important to take the bottle, the physical bottle of the medication with you to the provider. So if you have the bottle or if you have the container, take it to the provider so they can see it and make sure it doesn't interact. If you have any other medications or if you have any other condition, it doesn't affect you. And as I've mentioned now, protect your health by staying informed, making sure you're checking the labels, making sure you are reading up, but also talking to your provider about these medications, and then sharing this information that I've just shared with you with your family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Otti. I was really excited to bring this health topic to the community, and Dr. Otti, who was able to research this for us and bring it to all of us. And I just want to reemphasize that these are medications that I see a lot of. They're medications that are often provided by family members who care. Like family members were like, oh, your joints are achy and painful. I found this, or somebody gave me this. And, they actually could potentially make you feel better in this, short time after you're taking them, but could potentially have these like really devastating long-term effects. So I've seen it a lot. I think Dr. Otti said it best. Whatever you're going to take, if it's something new, just let us know about it. All of the medications that Dr. Otti discussed, they do have a role in medicine. It's when they're not prescribed or taken for incorrectly that they can cause problems. So be aware of those names out there, and be aware of anything that's kind of just given to you, over the counter, so to speak. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Otti.
Thank you, Dr. Otti. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. It's really wonderful to have the access to, information that is so urgently needed for our community. And thank you also for always having the cultural connection, and know that people do look for, other ways to supplement and support. And so to be safe in how we care for ourselves and our families, right, is always so very important. So thank you both. And we will share this presentation out at the end of our session today to ensure that folks can read through some of the labels that were shared. And I'm sure if they have any questions, they can reach out to you, Dr. Gonzalez, Dr. Otti.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Thank you so very much. So let's move on to our next presentation, and that is on housing policy. We have the Department of Regional Planning that is here. It is James Drevno and Lindsay Squirewell from LA County Department of Regional Planning. Let me hand it over to both of you.
Great, thanks, Rosette. Thank you for including us on your agenda today. We can go to the next slide. My name is James Drevno. I'm with LA County Planning, and I'm working the housing policy section of LA County Planning. And joining me today is Lindsay Squirewell, who's my colleague on the team as well. And we'll both be available at the end to answer any questions you have. And I'm sure the slides will be sent out, and our inbox and our phone number is always open in case anyone has any questions at the end. So what does LA County Planning do? We create land use policies and zoning rules. And specifically, we create land use policy and zoning rules for the county's unincorporated communities. So that includes places like East Los Angeles, like Florence Firestone, like Willowbrook, the Antelope Valley, really all over the county, and places that aren't cities. And our focus in our section is how do we create as much housing as possible, and particularly affordable housing as possible. So next slide. So we'll start with some quick background on the housing ordinances and why updates are needed. And then we'll walk through what's changing in the project timeline, and we'll make sure that we have time for everyone's questions. particularly what we're talking about today is what's known as the housing ordinances update. You can think of it as a bunch of really small to medium-sized tweaks to our county code, our laws and regulations around housing. But there's so many of them all together at once that it's now wrapped up in one big ordinance called the housing ordinances update. So we'll be talking about it as a whole. And so next slide. All right, so California is in a housing crisis. So why do we need the housing ordinances update? We all know probably firsthand that rent is very high. Overcrowding is common now, and many people struggle to find housing they can afford. In this meeting is all about, health and wellness and improving that in our communities. And a lot of that really does start in the home and in particular, making sure that you have a secure, safe, and affordable place to call home. So California's in a housing crisis, and so to respond, the state has passed a lot of new housing laws, but the county zoning rules haven't necessarily kept up. As you can see from the charts here, these are really just some of the housing laws, not even all of them, that have passed in the last 5 years or so. It's a lot, and a lot of the time we are, and a lot of other jurisdictions in the state are trying to play catch up. And so the housing ordinances update is an attempt to codify a lot of these state rules at once. And thanks, Lindsay, for providing those notes in the chat. So most of the laws shown here relate to something called density bonus, and we can get into that in a second, but others affect shelters, supportive housing, affordable housing replacement, and even single family homes. And these changes are meant to make it easier to build housing and keep what we already have. So not just new housing, but making sure that the housing we already have that is affordable is retained. So next slide. Okay, so let's see what's changing, and we can go on to the next slide as well. Okay, so these changes fall into three groups. Like I said, there's a ton of changes in regards to this bill, into this ordinance. A lot of it's pretty small. But first is state mandates. That's about 1/3 of the whole bill. So these updates are required by state law, and right now we have actually already been applying them because they're state laws, and this will be official in the ordinance. Right now we have a bunch of memos, and those memos dictate what planners do and what applicants can do, and this is a way to codify that. Second is technical fixes. So these aren't necessarily required, but they help line up state and local rules. So it includes fixing outdated definitions or clearing up parts of the zoning code. So you could think of it as taking your car in for a tune-up. This is sort of a little tune-up of our housing ordinances. And then third, and really the thing that we'll just talk about today, is the local changes. So these are tools that the county is adding to support four goals: creating affordable housing, preserving that existing affordable housing, expanding options for housing, and then promoting fair housing. And we'll get into all that, what that means. Next slide. So let's start with how the update helps create more affordable housing. And before we get into the density bonus part, or this tool, I do want to briefly touch on inclusionary housing, because I know that is a very popular topic with this group and with a lot of housing advocates, and especially residents in East LA. The county does have an inclusionary housing policy. And so inclusionary housing is when you build a development and the land that it's on requires you to add automatically, of a certain size, or just in general, units that are affordable or set at a certain price. And this would be across the board. And we don't have that across the board in all parts of the county, but we do have it on certain sites. And so the county does have an inclusionary housing policy that applies to those sites. And then on those sites, approximately new housing projects must set aside up to 20% of their units for what's lower income households. And those are specific incomes on a chart that the state provides us every year. We get a lot of questions about how much bigger, or can we expand inclusionary housing to all property, requiring all property to produce affordable housing. We are constantly monitoring how inclusionary housing plays out on the ground. And I will say that this ordinance, or what I'm speaking today, does not include any changes to what the county is already doing in regards to inclusionary housing. But that doesn't mean that it's not an important topic, and it's something that we're constantly monitoring. What we are unfortunately seeing in regards to tariffs and interest rates and construction costs all rising, we're seeing a trend of developers that are building actually fewer units or avoiding those triggers for the inclusionary requirement. So that shows that even on the sites where it's already allowed, we're actually not the private market is not even responding to those incentives or those requirements, and they're trying to build under that requirement. So this is a pretty unusual, but it also means that the housing market is in a pretty bad state right now, in the development state. And so this can result in fewer homes. It shifts projects towards those higher end designs, and it makes to make the numbers work. And ultimately, that's the last thing we want, is to decrease that. And so to answer Jasmine's question in the chat, who enforces the inclusionary housing requirements? That's a great question. So both for density bonus and for inclusionary housing, those will all be filed under the LA County Development Authority. So we're the planning department. So we set the entitlements and we approve the housing, and then LACDA is the constant monitor. So what LACDA does is, so anything when we say it has to be rented at a certain rate or it only goes to people of a certain income, it's not just the developer's word. They have to record it on the title. It's something where you create a covenant with LACDA, with the county, and then the county constantly monitors and enforces those affordability requirements. So there is that feedback loop to make sure that people aren't skirting these laws. And then to answer the second question, are these private markets avoiding incentives being penalized? So the inclusionary housing, what essentially that means is that in these cases, 5 or more units, or like those smaller developments, those have to require inclusionary housing on some of these sites. But what's actually happening is that where you have to build 5 in order for those inclusionary policies to kick in, we're actually seeing now developers build 3. It's like, okay, so it doesn't work out money-wise to build those affordable units, I'm actually going to build 3 smaller, more expensive luxury units. And that's the last thing that we would want in these communities, and it goes against our affordable housing code. So while this presentation is not about inclusionary housing, we just wanted to say that because we know that that's a question that comes up a lot. And so one of the main tools that I will talk about today that encourages affordable housing is something called the density bonus. And this is more of the carrot approach as opposed to the stick. And you need both the carrot and stick as regarding incentives. And so what does the density bonus do? It lets developers build more units if they include affordable housing. So the more affordable units they provide, or the lower the income level they serve, the more bonus units they can get. So in this example on your screen, the developer planned to build 5 townhomes. Those are the light blue homes. And by including 1 affordable unit in orange, and again, that's deed restricted, it's monitored by the county, it has to be, and it is enforced to be affordable. By including that 1 affordable unit that's deed restricted, they are allowed to build a 6th unit or a bonus unit. And the idea is that bonus unit covers the cost of the affordable unit. So if you build a little bit more, you can also get more affordable housing into the community. Next slide. And then in addition to these bonus units, developers can also request incentives to make the project work. These incentives let them adjust certain rules, like how far the building must be from the street, to fit those extra units on site. The more affordable units they include, or the lower the rents, the more incentives they can request. So it's also important to remember regarding density bonus is that these rules were passed in 1979. They've been around for about 50 years now, or coming up on 50 years. So these are state density bonus, and is a state program that we are implementing locally, and we go above and beyond to make sure that it pencils out and that we actually are providing adequate affordable homes in the county. Next slide. All right, so here's a local change that we're doing. So right now, there's no incentive for developers to build housing for the lowest income households. And those are what we call acutely low income. These are people who are right on the poverty line. They're working, they're making money, but they're having a hard time making ends meet. They might be living in RVs, a vehicle. They might be staying with family, and they're working, but they don't make enough to, they're just right above the poverty line. So that's really what acutely low income's for. This level of affordability, so the county is fixing that. We're trying to provide more acutely low income housing. So this category has been added to the density bonus program. So that level of affordability earns the biggest bonus. So if a developer sets aside just 1 unit for acutely low income household, they could be allowed to build 3 more units. And again, it's at that affordable units at the poverty line. So those 3 extra units are meant to subsidize it. So next slide. Okay, and so this is a lot of numbers and all that kind of stuff, but really just to make it simple, we're updating the sliding scale to stay in line with the state's version. So we get some numbers from the state that we have to codify, and then we go above and beyond on top of that. So without this fix of what we're showing of these numbers moving, developers would actually get a smaller bonus for providing more affordable units just because of how the numbers are currently set up. So what we're doing is that these adjustments will apply across all income levels to make sure that the more affordable units you provide, the bigger the bonus. So it's to create that sliding scale with a good slope on it to make sure that we get the units that we need. Next slide. So some projects include a mix of rental and for sale homes, like apartments, condos, single family homes. And right now, developers can actually group all of these affordable units in one part of the project. And they can still get bonus units across all parts of the site. So one example, and I think we can go to the next slide. So with this update, as you can see here, one common thing that people do is, or like developers do, is they'll put all the affordable housing in one part of the project. Or like, okay, all the apartments are the affordable units, and then we can build all these single family homes while keeping all the affordable units in one building. We're getting rid of that. So if you want a bonus for special for a certain type of building, like a single family home or an apartment, you can't pack them in one part of the project anymore. It needs to be proportional. And so with the next slide, this makes, so with this update, the number of bonus units must match where the affordable units are. So if half the affordable units are in condos and then half are in the single family homes, the same logic applies across the rest of the project. So this makes sure that bonus units follow the same pattern as the affordable units. So for example, if a quarter of the affordable units that are deed restricted are part of the condos, then 25% of the bonus units must be condos. This is just a way to make development more equitable and fair, especially for those affordable units. Next slide. All right, so that was the creating new housing. Now let's talk about how do we preserve existing housing. So state law says replacement housing state law already requires that when housing is removed, it must be replaced. That's called the no net loss rule. And so state law says replacement housing must stay within the same jurisdiction, but the county has 125 unincorporated communities across 4,000 square miles. That's clearly, if you are knocking down a home in East LA, building it in the Antelope Valley as a replacement doesn't work for anyone. It doesn't work for the county in maintaining affordability. It doesn't work for the people who are already living in East LA that are now displaced. And so the county is going above and beyond what the state requires to make sure that we're adding a new rule. So if homes are torn down and they can't be replaced on the site, any replacement units must be built within a half mile of that project location. So if people, for whatever reason, if their home is removed and they're allowed to replace those units, it has to be within a half mile away of that project. So people have a chance to return to their own neighborhood. And again, this is something that the county's doing above and beyond what the state is allowing, or that the state requires. Next slide. So let's shift to another goal of the update, and that's expanding housing choices and allowing a wider mix of housing types. So I'm sure as all you know, people need different kinds of housing at different points in life. So offering more options helps people find a home that fits their needs and budget. The need of a young family starting out is a lot different from the needs of an older adult who maybe wants to downsize or is living on a fixed income. So whether you're just starting out, downsizing, supporting a family, housing choices supports more health and stability, and especially income stability. Next slide. So what is the county doing about this housing choice? So this update removes the rule that single family homes must be 800 square feet in size. So this allows for smaller, more affordable homes where people want them and if people want them. It's important to note here that there's still building codes and building regulations that still apply to these homes. So this 800 square foot minimum was actually a planning rule and not a building and safety rule. And so the 800, minimum room sizes, hallway sizes, doors, windows, all of that is still required under building and safety. It still needs to function as a safe dwelling and affordable home. But what's actually interesting is looking, and we had some examples to share, but if we If you look at places like East LA, really on most of the blocks, and if you look the same in Florence Firestone or very old neighborhoods in LA, even in the case of Boyle Heights, although that's incorporated city, you'll find that actually a lot of houses, that cute house on the street, the cute house that an older adult lives in down the road, those are already under 800 square feet. And so what we've actually done over the last few decades is we've made it illegal to build the same units that are already there. And so really what this is an attempt to do is to re-permit or re-allow the housing that has been there historically for more than 100 years. So this doesn't mean that every house, this doesn't allow additional density per se. You know, it's still the homes per lot. It doesn't mean that they could be packed together tightly. It just means that if someone wants a smaller home that they can afford, they can build a smaller home if they want. What we're also doing as a change is that it also stops new single-family homes from being built in commercial and mixed-use zones, and those areas are better suited for apartments, mixed-use buildings near those jobs and transit. So next slide. This is the last part of our presentation. This part of the is about fair housing, and so we'll talk a little bit about what fair housing means. All right, thanks. Fair housing means everyone has an equal chance to find and keep a home. Laws at the state and federal level protect people from discrimination based on things like race, religion, sex, whether they're renting, buying, or applying for a loan. This is obviously a great thing and something that we're proud to enforce across the county. Next slide. Fair housing also means making reasonable changes for people with disabilities. For example, if someone needs a wheelchair ramp that extends into the front yard area, that should be allowed, even if usual zoning rules don't. I think that's pretty common sense. If someone needs something to access their homes, it should be allowed. But you would be surprised that there's some existing codes that prevent this from happening. And so these requests are handled on a case-by-case basis. So we do the reasonable accommodation now, but we want to make changes to make it even easier. Next slide. So as a change for these reasonable accommodations, we're saying there'll be no review fee, no public notice, no public hearing, no appeal process. If you have a disability that prevents you from entering your house, it should be no one's business except that person who's trying to have a reasonable accommodation. It shouldn't be up to your neighbor to determine if you can get into your own home or not. This will hopefully keep the process simple, fast, and private for the people requesting that accommodation. Next slide. And before we wrap up, and I appreciate you all for being very patient with us, let's look at the timeline. So this draft housing ordinances update will go to the Regional Planning Commission later this year after more community meetings like this one throughout the summer and fall. And then assuming it goes to the Regional Planning Commission in the fall, it is expected to go to the Board of Supervisors for adoption in the spring. Next slide. You can find more details on the project site at planning.lacounty.gov. We'll post the link to the website in the chat. You can click Our Work and then Long Range Planning, and then you can reach the Housing Ordinances page that way. And we actually already have a full draft of the ordinance on the website. If you want to look at a recorded version of the presentation we just provided in English, that's also available on the website, so you can send that to your neighbors. Next slide. Thanks again for having us. We're happy to take any questions. And like I said, our office number, our email, our inbox is always open. We can do live interpretation meetings for people who speak other languages. We're really here to be as accessible as possible. And we're here to take any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, James. I'm going to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions? We do have some comments in the chat. Raise your hand if you want to speak. We will call on you. And I see Lindsay posted a few resources. Please take a look at those. And again, we will share those after the meeting with everyone as well. Vivian Escalante shares, some comments about the importance of preserving historic spaces. Many historic places have been demolished in Boyle Heights by developers, and we're seeking information on the current state of housing crisis and locations for new public housing projects, particularly those that include parking, which creates more significant crisis as residents now face a parking shortage, and these developers are not building houses or duplexes, just undesirable boxes, struggling with high density, and we do not receive bonuses. So I don't know if you have feedback for that, James and Vivian, if you have more you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the question. And, this is something that unfortunately we hear a lot regarding concerns of affordable housing is nice, but we're experiencing displacement now. We have historic structures that are under threat. And so I have a few things to respond to that with. One, first of all, with Boyle Heights, that is technically within LA City. I do know that state law is equally impacting a lot of us when we implement these laws. And so I'm sure we're LA County planning, so we work in East LA regarding that boundary line. But I'm sure LA City Planning is equally tackling these state laws that are coming down from Sacramento and we're required to implement regarding that. So I do know that is a concern. I know for LA County Planning, we have an historic context statement that was just adopted with the metro area plan in East LA, and that includes a lot of historical documentation regarding the existing homes and recommendations for future preservation in regards to that. Regarding loss of parking, that is certainly a concern that we're hearing too. A lot of times the state laws that we're having to implement or we're forced to implement, for better or worse, force a local government to not be able to enforce parking requirements. And so any provision of parking as a result of that is really up to those individual neighbors. We know that people will provide parking beyond the requirement. We also know that people don't provide parking beyond the requirement. And that's ultimately up to those community members. We also know too that at the end of the day, it is a housing crisis in the sense that, yes, parking is definitely a major concern, and certainly in, I'm sure, all of our communities, including the one that I live in. We also do have people that are living in cars on the street that are housing insecure, and we need to make sure that those people have appropriate and affordable and sanitary living conditions as well. So it is definitely a huge balancing act. It's something that we take very seriously, and we definitely understand those concerns, though. And also one more thing regarding design requirements or ugly boxes that are popping up. We get that a lot as well. Just want to note too that in East LA we do, and across the county, we have a new residential design ordinance, and that requires all homes, even if they're density bonus, even if they're ADUs, even if they're single family homes, to match a certain design threshold to make it look more like the homes that are already there. So again, I know I can't assuage all fears or concerns, but I do want to make sure that we do. There are things at LA County Planning that we are doing to try and alleviate some of that.
And I guess also the additional question is, where is the public housing being built? We have not seen anything with regards to public housing, especially for having the so-called crises, So I'd like to know, even if it's county, even if it's city, there has not been any discussion with regards to building public housing where everybody has given the key to the city and the communities to developers to come in and basically tear everything down and force us into their design and forcing us to live without vehicles. And we understand that the TOC, TOD, transit-oriented district communities, is something that has been talked about, but it isn't a reality. The reality is we all have cars and we all have multiple family members who need cars to go to school and to go to work. And that is the reality. So eliminating parking, again, here in Boyle Heights, we already have high density. We have narrow streets. I feel that we're just being suffocated with, again, the developers coming in, demolishing our beautiful historic bungalows, craftsman style homes to put up, again, undesirable boxes. And these aren't homes. These are just boxes for people to live in. So when you refer to homes, I think maybe the terminology needs to be adjusted because they're places to live, but they're not necessarily homes. All of our homes are being demolished, and no public housing. For example, many of the amazing public housings that we have here are very significant. They work really well. Kids can go outside and play. There's parks parking. So we kind of feel that maybe it would be a good incentive to create more public housing in the surrounding area and take the key away from the developers. They're only here for the bottom line. They just want to make money. They're not a part of the community. So it's very important that we also try to bring that to the forefront. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vivian. And I know we probably have to move on to other items, but just one final note on that. And so regarding regarding that profit incentive, that development incentive, we absolutely agree that public housing is one of the tools, and it is something that is outlined in the general plan of expanding just pure public housing as much as possible. I know that's something that the county is looking at. I can't speak to LA City, and I'm sure that they're focused on that as well. But in regards to that too, a lot of that does come down to funding. You have to buy the property, or the county has to invest in the property, and that's sometimes obviously a good investment. There are pushback from neighbors about affordable housing being built in their own community and whether that's warranted or not. So that's something to consider as well. All we can say is that by far the most amount of affordable housing that has been built in the last few years, for better or worse, has actually been by private developers. Perhaps that is actually a symptom of a system that may need to be updated. And to that, we say yes. That sounds great. And we're looking forward to leadership on that front. But I do want to make it clear too that it's not a zero-sum game, that there's actually a lot of ways that we can put affordable housing online, and it doesn't have to be one way or the other. And we're just trying to get affordable units, whether or not they're aesthetically pleasing or not. It's more dignified for someone to have a place that's indoors that they can lay their head. And so, yeah, but absolutely heard on all those concerns. We hear that every day.
Thank you so much, James, and we invite you to return soon to continue some of this conversation and opportunity. We do have a question from Francisco Sanchez, or comment. Your hand is raised.
Yeah, it's also a comment. I mean, I found your comments quite incendiary, Vivian. I mean, there's a diversity of perspectives in the community. There's a lot of us here. I think one of the biggest problems is historical preservation. There's some of us here who are struggling I have been housing insecure, and it's because we can't demolish some of these old memories that people have in some of these buildings here. We need housing by any means necessary sometimes. And it's just absolutely ridiculous that some people can abandon their cars and use the bus and go on the metro line just to live. It's in Boyle Heights. There's Soto Street Station there. I did it for years. I'm looking to move out of the neighborhood in order for someone to take advantage of the locales that they can take advantage of, because you know what? I'm moving on up. And I just think we need to rethink sometimes our own biases. And there's just a little too much. Maybe we're suffocated because we wanted a little all. We want too much. That's all I gotta say. It's just like we gotta chill out a little bit. We need to welcome the builders. We need to welcome the people who are trying to expand the pie.
Thank you, Francisco, and thank you both for your comments. As we know, the issue of housing here in LA is just extraordinary, and we need to all continue to support each other in learning and growing and hearing each other's diverse opinions, so that we can definitely respond to the need and the evolving needs of a community that is most impacted by these crises. So we will continue that dialogue and conversation, and we do encourage, even if there are differing opinions, right, that those opinions be shared. Just ensuring that we are respectful of everyone's space and vantage point. And again, the assertion that what we are trying to do together is improve and grow and learn. And so appreciating everyone's time on this. And housing always, brings a lot of, strong opinion on all sides, because we know, many of us know people that are unhoused or housing insecure, and it's very, it's very debilitating to the health and wellness of our community to have, folks in our community that are suffering from this and many other issues. So again, thank you for the topic. We'll continue to have this conversation at this table and many other subcommittees. I want to have some courtesy for our interpreter, who I think is alone today. And so I've been asked to give them a few minutes. So if you do have any comments or questions, please feel free to use the chat. We're going to take 3 minutes so that our interpreter can catch their breath, and we will be back at 10 a.m. So in 3 minutes, we'll be back to ensure that we can continue with a presentation from our LA County Department of Public Works and our Department of Arts and Culture. All right, let's move on to our community stability and housing presentation, which is about the work at RCV in Restorative Care Village Phase 5. It is an opportunity for us to get an update from Parisa Dadmehr from LA County Department of Public Works and Regn from LA County Department of Arts and Culture. Take it away, Parisa and Iris.
Iris, this is Alicia Ramos. Rosa, I'm not sure if we want to. Iris, do you want to go ahead and get started? We can follow up with just some progress photos.
That sounds great.
Yes.
All right, Iris.
That sounds great. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for making time for this. I'm going to go through the presentation, some of which you have seen. I'm going to repeat a little bit and then maybe save questions for the end. And I'll include my email at the end. So this is a little update as to where we are on Restorative Care Village Phase 5. And here's an elevation of this building on Mission Road. I actually drove by yesterday, and the form of the building is visible. And I realized also that I think the artwork that the larger artwork that we talked about previously, next slide, please, will be seen from as far away as the freeway, just in the way the building is positioned. So the larger artwork that we talked about previously was a mural on this facade on Mission Road in the area that is encircled in yellow. Next slide, please. So this here, this light blue area, it's going to be quite large. We've already, next slide, please. And this is the schedule for it. So as I mentioned before, sort of in a previous meeting, there was a call for artists. We just received the applications the other day, and we're gearing up for a big artist selection meeting, of which we have 2 panelists from co-design, Yolanda and Ari, who can include as many community representatives as desired in breakout rooms. We'll figure out the tech, which is not my strong point, but we've done this before on the previous phases, and really excited about working on this call with you. And you can see a little bit more of the date. So there'll be an artist selection meeting this time, knowing this community, and I think being sort of particularly excited about these projects. We're going to have not only 3 proposals, but shortlist 4 artists for proposals. And then those proposals will be selected in another meeting in October. And then there'll be 1 artist who will be selected to move forward with the project. Next slide, please. I'm just going to reiterate the themes and goals that we developed with the co-design committee that are quite exciting and are even one further step on the goals and values that we established at previous phases of the RCV. So values of inclusivity, social racial justice, human rights, equity, restorative care, community wellness, healing, environment and nature, and a welcoming atmosphere, with thematic priorities of hope, healing, health, cultural and historical connection, personal growth, and honoring individuals and everyday people. And then cultural connections, compassion, reflection of local communities, including family, indigenous, and immigrant roots, and life experiences of residents and patients. One thing to note is these goals and values do not indicate are designed to be open-ended, so that we're really benefiting from the artist's expertise in articulating what that might mean through an artist's mind. So we're not telling them, show us a tree or show us a dog. These are open-ended and meant to address how the artwork should feel at the end. Now, I wanted to mention that something we're really excited about is that in developing this very large artwork, something quite miraculous happened, and that is that the artwork the materials came under the budget that we had anticipated. And so I've been developing a whole series of other artworks that we can offer this particular site. Next slide, please. And knowing, again, having worked with all of you, looking at artworks that address all communities in RCV5. So that would be the outward-facing community, the community that is going to be staying in RCV5, the staff, and also the visitors. So the goal with these additional artworks is to really cover all of these aspects. And we've been working closely with Public Works to figure out where these additional artworks could be located. So there'll be one in the first floor lobby, several in the upper lobby areas, and then also smaller artworks in the consultation interview rooms. And to make these additional artworks possible and allow the building to continue on schedule, these additional artworks will all be what we're calling wall hung. So they are artworks that will be fabricated in an artist studio and then attached to the building, versus something that's artworks that are integrated into the construction of the building, like the big mural. So this is what's allowing us to incorporate all these artworks. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to talk about, so the first one on the first floor lobby addresses clients, visitors, and staff. And you can see it can be quite sizable. It's next to the door. If you see the door for reference, this is like a mini mural. Next slide. This is a floor plan. On the bottom, you can see the parking, and right next to it, you can see like the main entrance into the facility and the reception area. And next slide, please. And so here's the parking area, here's the entrance, and you'll see the artwork beyond on the left. And we've been working with Public Works to make sure that it's lit properly. What happens with artworks that are behind glass is, they're seen, depending on how the sun hits the glass, they're seen sort of more or less because of the reflectivity of the glass. But we're going to work with lighting as best as possible to make sure that the artwork can be seen as much as it can be seen. But we're very excited about the location, which is right at the entrance to the facility. Next slide, please. So this is a floor plan, and the areas upstairs, which serve the various, they're called pods, the provider areas, have not formal but sort of informal lobby areas. And on the bottom, the boxes that you see with the X's on them, those are the elevators. And then if you come out of the elevator and go to the right, you walk through sort of a zone. And then you go into the areas where the providers are. And I've marked 2 walls in each of these sort of lobby area zones. They're not meant for people to actually rest there, but they're sort of walked through each time somebody comes through the elevator, so that on both sides of this sort of lobby area there will be artwork. Next slide. So you can kind of see that here. And these also, if you look at the doors for reference, these are pretty sizable. So these will be 2 artworks per floor on the 2nd and 3rd floors. Next slide. This is the 4th floor. It's a little bit different architecturally, but same idea. Next slide. So there will be 2 artworks there too, one on either side. One, actually, we have a really nice sizable wall so that people will come out of the elevator, walk through artwork on both sides, and then go into the provider areas. Next slide, please. And then we're really excited about this other level of artwork that is really going to address clients and staff. What you see on some of these bubbled areas is this is where mental health has bubbled sort of possible areas for artworks. And some of them are in supervised areas like interview rooms or consultation rooms. And so we have 6 provider areas. We're committed to having arts purchases, 2 arts purchases per provider area. So that means 12 smaller artworks. Next slide, please. Now, because they're going to be artists interpreting our themes and values in many different ways on the interior of the facility, one thing that we came up with the co-design committee was this sort of overarching theme of healing plants. And I know Public Works is also going to talk about that later on, which can be interpreted in many ways and still keep, so if there's an artwork theme of these healing plants, the artworks can still incorporate the themes, the values and goals that we established previously, but the healing plant theme can add cohesion through the whole facility, even though there are going to be different representations of that throughout. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here's where we are with the whole of the artworks, and we're very excited about this. So one on the exterior is the artwork we discussed at a previous meeting, so the large commissioned aluminum panel mural. And then we have 1 larger commissioned wall hung artwork in the lobby, 6 medium commissioned wall hung artworks, 2 in each of the lobby spaces on the upper floor, and then 12 smaller wall hung arts purchases, so that we are going to do 20 artworks within the facility of sort of varying sizes and addressing the varying communities, and also allowing for different kinds of artists to participate. So for instance, the smaller wall hung art purchases, that might address sort of more emerging artists, right? And so we can hit different parts of the arts community as well. So we're pretty excited about that. And now I saw there were some questions.
There were some comments, one around the importance of art as embracing of ourselves and connecting to healing, right? And art being a universal language. So Juana Mena made that comment. Hola Juana, buenos
Thank
días.
you so much.
And again, the importance of of having art connect to our community spirit and our community energy, and just creating a more healing environment, is essential. So thank you, Iris and Department of Public Works, for the incredible efforts that you all are making to ensure a more welcoming and connecting environment for our patients, for our community, and for the residents of our CV5, 4 and 5, actually, because I know we're doing art in 4 as well.
Rosa, we just wanted to
Okay.
show some quick progress photos of the work on site, and I'll let Parisa describe the activity level, because I know, just like Iris said, there's been quite a change at that part of the campus if you've driven by lately. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen real quick, and let's show you some of that progress. Okay, I hope my screen is coming through okay.
It is fine.
Okay, fantastic. All right, we're just going to skip ahead. And I'm not going to bother going into presentation mode. I think you can see it, but we are talking about the area that is at the the Northwest campus, where the Women's and Children's Hospital used to be. There's our phase 1 to the right of it in the red circle. And here is phase 4. And I'm going to hand it to Parisa Dadmehr for 2 reasons. One, I will be moving on to a newly developed recovery division at Public Works to address the wildfires and the recovery and rebuild effort from the wildfires. But Parisa is not a new face to this group. Parisa has been on the campus for years. In fact, her history with the campus predates me. She was a part of the initial new hospital build, and she and her team have been responsible for the phase 1 delivery. And of course, it's only natural that her team continue with phase 4 and phase 5. So Parisa, if you wouldn't mind, take us through some of the progress on phase 4, which is on screen right now.
Sure. Thank you, Alicia, and good morning, everyone. As you can see on the photos, we have made quite progress on phase 4, and this is for the project that has 2 components. Department of Mental Health has the first floor, and Public Health has the second floor. And we are currently working on pretty much final interior finishes, final plaster, and asphalt, and soon after that, we'll be working on bringing permanent power to the site and doing landscaping. So we are on target, on schedule to hopefully finalize the project and complete it by the end of this year, towards the end of October, early November of this year.
Phase 5, which is what Iris spent some time on, and her comment about it is really taking shape. Parisa, can you give us some details on what we have?
So on phase 5, we have nearly completed our steel framing, as you can see on the photos, and we are, our next step would be basically pouring the floor slabs and the concrete, and to get rid of the crane that you see over there. And this project, as Iris was showing on the rendering, is also on target. And we're hoping to complete the full project by the end of next year, towards end of October, early November of next year. And within the next couple of months, if you're passing by, you're going to see much more progress on this project.
Great. Thank you so much. And to Parisa's point, both projects are on track for the schedule that we've been publishing, which is phase 4 will complete at the end of 2025. Phase 5 still has another year ahead of it and will complete at the end of 2026. So we are working with SD1. Parisa is working with SD1 to come up with a plan for some sort of celebration, whether it is a grand opening or it is a groundbreaking, because these projects are both progressing at different paces. Keep in mind, when phase 4 is completed at the end of this year, it will enter into the licensing process, which still means there's another 6 to 8 months where the building and the operation will go through licensing before it can start to service clients. The same will happen for phase 5. So when we talk about doing a ceremony, it will be the end of construction, but we do still have licensing ahead of us. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. Rosa, I'll hand it back to you. And in the future, you will be having updates from Parisa. Thank you so much, Parisa.
Thank you so much, Alicia, Parisa. Parisa, thank you for taking on the leadership of Public Works' efforts here on campus. And I think you mentioned previously you've been on campus since the very beginning, even the establishment of our new medical center buildings. So I know this is a campus dear to you and to your professional cum. So thank you so much. And Alicia, just wanted to congratulate you and appreciate you so much. You have been so instrumental in helping us bridge a lot of the difficulty that sometimes comes with planning processes, with just steps along the way, with the way things need to be done related to reports or report backs, motions, and also community engagement, community input. So thank you for your leadership on that. We'll continue to draw from that experience of us as we work with Parisa and your team. And Iris, thank you again to Department of Art and Culture for all of the incredible efforts to ensure not only the opportunity of new mural development, but also, this larger sort of lens on how do we create a welcoming and artful space for our clients and future residents of our facilities. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're now a little behind schedule, so if you will bear with me, I'm going to move over to our last presentation on campus projects, and that is our Centennial project. Centennial project will be presenting Leandro, Tyberg, and Giovanna Araujo will be presenting on the latest update on the revitalization of General Hospital and West Campus.
Thank you so much, Rosa, and thank you everybody for giving us this opportunity this morning to give you an update on the project. As you know, I love HICP so much that I just hang out in the HICP conference room even when I don't need to. I'll get that right someday. But look, I do want to take some time to say thank you for all the support that we've received. We've had so many community meetings this week with so many of you that it's been very, very powerful. And I do want to take a quick moment. I know that we're behind schedule, but just to recognize that we stand in solidarity with this community regarding everything that is happening. I and many of the team are immigrants to this country, and we are all struggling to find the best way to respond to the moment, which is a real challenge. So we understand the backdrop of the opportunity that we're dealing with, and the challenges that we're facing in the community that we are so privileged to serve. Next slide, please. Using the lens that the community taught us about the 5 critical pillars, we are using that perspective for every decision that we make related to design, scheduling, community outreach, and implementation. And where we are in this process is pushing the project forward through the necessary milestones. The community outreach, as I mentioned, has been very robust and very constant, something that we love, and something that we're committed to continuing to do as we move forward. For the agenda today, we're going to talk about the stabilization project update, the master plan and entitlement timeline, a memorandum of community benefits, the master plan board motion that's coming up, our upcoming at-large meeting, and then an adjournment. Next slide, please. We do want to say thank you for the incredible support that we received at the previous cluster meeting at the county, as well as the Board of Supervisors vote. We received a 5-0 approval, meaning we had unanimous support from all of the county supervisors, which was very impactful. And it was very important because it shows the other supervisors the incredible commitment from this community to make this campus not just a beacon of hope for this community, but what it could mean to the entire Southern California region. We had over 66 letters of support. Many, many, many people came to speak in support of the project. And it was very emotional to be there seeing the line of people that came out to support, many community members, labor unions, community partners. It was really beautiful. And of course, we need more support to keep this project moving forward. Next slide, please.
Yes, thank you, Leandro. Good morning, everyone. I also want to express my gratitude for everyone's support for the stabilization project that would not have been possible without everyone mobilizing to get behind this and send a really strong message that this is the opportunity to advance this project. As a refresher, the stabilization project is immediate project that is needed on the campus to make sure that there's no further deterioration to General Hospital and other infrastructure throughout the campus, and also to begin already making infrastructure improvements to circulation, and just make the campus overall safer and much more pleasant for current users. And it is, the foundational step toward this master plan. Now we get to advance the conversation toward what will be the future of the campus. What are the new uses that are coming here? And finally, laying out the foundation for all of this visioning that has happened over the course of many years of what the community wishes to see on the campus and as part of this redevelopment. So we're here revisiting our ENA timeline, the exclusive negotiation agreement that we have with LA County, our partners, SD1, on this public-private partnership. We have officially concluded now the phase 1 of the ENA, the project definition phase that we've been discussing here with this group over the course of the past year, identifying all of the challenges and opportunities for the project and figuring out our strategy and plan for moving into the next phases. And now this is the pivotal moment where we're heading into the phase 2 master planning phase. This is a 6-month phase where we're going to be determining the phasing and economic viability strategies for how to implement on the project, and then immediately entering the phase 3, which is the project entitling, basically permitting the legal authorization for us to move ahead and build this master plan. So next slide, please. So zooming in a little bit to talk about what to expect in these 2 phases. In the master planning phase, we expect a lot of community engagement, 2 community at large interactive workshops, one of which we're going to share an invitation to with this group at the end of our presentation here today. But this will be an opportunity to have a conversation with our design teams as they're in the early phases of laying out the master plan. There's been so much visioning that has already happened up to this point. But there has never been a master plan that is created from that visioning. And so this will be an opportunity to revisit the exercises that the community has already done and pick up from where things left off to turn those visioning exercises into the actual legal documents so that we are able to build the vision. So that's what this 6-month period will be about. And that also includes a lot of conversations around community benefits and putting together an agreement of what is expected. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well, so that the community benefits are a pillar of the master plan. In the entitlement phase, we'll be producing a subsequent environmental impact report for the campus that is part of an entitlement requirement, so that we're able to, by end of Q3, beginning of Q4 of next year, go forward to the Board of Supervisors to officially green stamp that we can go ahead and get started on building projects on the campus. Next slide, please. In the Memorandum of Community Benefits Alignment, we are already outlining some priorities of what it should address, and we'll continue to work very closely with HICP, the Wellness Center, our Community Advisory Committee, to make sure that we have a clear vision and goals for this memorandum. But some of the things that we already anticipate the memorandum will address is identifying anticipated community benefits, what are the goals for affordable housing, local hiring, open space improvements. We have already, as part of our RFP, when we first decided to pursue this project and put forth, our proposal for being the developers on this project, we had already provided a community benefits agreement and a series of goals of things that we would be observing with the project. But this is an opportunity to revisit that document, make sure it's still aligned, that it reflects the most current needs and stresses and desires, and that we make it even more robust entering this next phase. So another thing that comes with that is detailing the commitments and the targets that are agreed upon by everyone, demonstrating alignments with city and county policies and plans, and having a very clear framework for how we measure that these goals are being achieved. So monitoring and accountability is really important. So how do we look at this document and say, yes, check, we did it. We, delivered on this agreement. Next slide, please. Anything you'd like to add here, Leandro, before we move ahead? Okay, great.
You've stated it well.
Great. Next slide. So what will this master plan include, right? This is what we call a programmatic master plan. What does that mean? This is a master plan that will give us the layout for the site, and it will give us what's called the maximum and minimum development envelopes. So what is the maximum amount of housing that we can fit here? What is the maximum amount of retail, a maximum amount of commercial space and community services that we could fit on this campus? What that does is it gives us a lot of flexibility so that a few years from now, once this entitlement is approved, we can come back to community and say, okay, what do we want to put here? What projects do we actually want to develop on the campus? And we have the full authorization to build on just about any variation that we choose at that time. So at this point, we're not yet designing specific projects. We're designing the layout of the site, where we expect that, some uses might be located. For example, near the LA General Medical Center, there might be other medical support uses. And so we would authorize for the construction of some future project related to supporting those services that are already on the campus in that area. So this includes thinking through circulation, transportation, accessibility to the site, and really establishing guiding principles that align with policy goals. Next slide, please. Leandro, if you'd like to speak on the master plan motion.
Sure. So the master plan motion has now been issued and is public, and we can certainly issue a copy of that to the Wellness Center and HICP team. What's included in the actual master plan motion itself. So it's going to allow a lot of the technical work that we've been doing over this last year, the surveying, the analysis, to proceed without the full environmental review required by CEQA, because it does not result in any changes to the environment. We are using this master plan motion to designate the hospital and register it as a historic site in the National Registry of Historic Places. This will both protect the site for the long term, but make it eligible for tax credits for future preservation. It will let us, the master plan motion will let us analyze financing options, such as what we call an enhanced infrastructure and climate resilience district, which will also support funding and implementation. And though there have been conversations in the community in the past about these concepts, they've never actually been fully implemented. We are proud that the supervisor's office has offered an additional $3.3 million in her discretionary funds, which are going to be allocated to this planning phase, which further shows her absolute commitment to this community and the project. And the motion will also effectively dictate to county departments the request to coordinate and maintain the schedule, and then create a structure where they will report back on the community benefits plan, which we do want to have completed by the end of this year, and ensure full public engagement through that planning and implementation process.
Leandro, Diego seems to have a question, so maybe if it's related here, we can take that question now.
Yes, Diego.
Thank you. And thank you for, great information. And of course, we're very excited to be here at this stage of the project. And to your last point in terms of the community benefits plan, just wondering what will be the best way for us to engage to ensure that we have the resources, the services, the community benefits that are currently at the campus, and they are embodied by the Wellness Center, right? Which was a labor of love and continues to be a labor of love as part of this project, but also as part of this bigger and better infrastructure that's being built, right? And in light of what we're going through as a community, I think this conversation is extremely timely and it's urgent. And as a service provider in transparency, who knows about the needs and the of the community, I think it would be reassuring both for us as providers, but for the community itself to know that the resources will be there, right? And how the resources will be structured within this larger project. And we look forward to engaging in this discussion to just better understand how this master plan, right, might include community usage spaces and more tangible, right, benefits for community as it does right now through the Wellness Center.
Thank you, Diego. First and foremost, the Wellness Center is our key essential partner, not just to date, but going forward. We are absolutely committed to doing everything in lockstep with the Wellness Center, both as our partner, but also as our key advisor. We could not have gotten to where we are at without their leadership, and we can't go forward without their leadership. So not only are they a key and critical partner, but they play a pivotal role in how we schedule everything, how we present everything, and we make sure to get blessings and run things by them to make sure that it is in the right spirit of everything that you guys have done for, my goodness, almost 10 years now. In regards to the resources, certainly it's incumbent upon us, it's our responsibility to be able to communicate the process of the master plan creation and what we're intending to do for the community benefits effectively to the community. So we intend to create forums for dialogue, which will be workshops and direct meetings to talk about the components that we want to put in the community benefits agreement, but also to be able to very articulately show what the community has been feedbacking from that. In an ideal world, they both perfectly mesh, but if not, we can at least dialogue on where we are apart to figure out how we fill those resource gaps. And then finally, community uses and spaces related to safety, gathering, holistic connectivity, coordinated community services is one of the key pillars that is the lens by which we do everything. We will also be doing a workshop on those to figure out together what may have changed to date, updated priorities, but also what we might be missing from what the community said that we need to add. Thank you, Diego. Can we go to the next slide, please, Rosa? Great. So, as you can see here, we have our upcoming, getting some feedback, upcoming Board of Supervisors hearing, which is coming up on January 29th. We are still waiting for the exact logistics of the day to know exactly what point of the day we're going to be speaking, exactly which speakers are going to be present. But in the meantime, we have created a template letter of support that we are going to be sending out very similarly to what we did last time, in which we really need HICP's support, whether it's that you call in, whether it's that you show up, whether it's that you send a letter. Frankly, the more the better. As you saw from the last experience, the overwhelming community support really made a difference in getting the other supervisors to come on board for this community. And so we do want to continue that process. Rosa, do you want to offer any commentary on this?
Just inviting everyone to take a look at the sample support letter. You can submit a support letter as an individual. You can submit a support letter as an organization. Please help us to spread the word as well. And let's get, a higher percentage of letters of support than we did in this last round. It is one of the most monumental projects that the county has undertaken, and to be able to do it with Leandro and Giovanna being at the table every step of the way has been an incredible learning and growing opportunity for all of us. And so we're all working together to see what more can be done to ensure stronger community benefits, as well as this project being, such a model for other medical center campuses across the country. A lot of details need to be worked out. We understand that, and appreciating Leandro and Giovanna, you highlighting that we need to be intentional about those spaces and how we create them, and taking the time that we might need to dig a little deeper into the subjects where there might not be straight alignment. That being said, I think this, what I'm hearing from you, what I've been hearing from you over the last few days of our meeting train, how many of us have been on the same meetings a couple of times, is that we are learning that this really ignites that master planning opportunity for you. And so it's important for us to know that that is where the support is right now, and that this project isn't just of impact to our campus, but it is of regional impact and of countywide impact. And so it isn't just about organizations. I don't know what feedback we're getting, but let's mute whoever can help us. Yeah, so we're about to wrap. Sorry about that, guys. I know we're getting really close to time here, but just wanted to make sure that we know we can get support from anyone in the county. It's that opportunity for us to think about, how a comprehensive model of health and wellness and innovation on a medical campus can not only impact the immediate community, but also our county, right, as a whole. So we'll be reaching out and seeing how we can all continue to work together. In some cases, I know, like you've heard the Wellness Center mentioned in many different ways. And as you know, I mean, we are the backbone of health innovation, especially Heather and I, the backbone, to support you all in health innovation community partnership. But when I heard, for example, Diego's comments, like when we talk about the Wellness Center, we're talking about your center, your community space. And so the voice of the community at the table on how those spaces are created, are going to be essential. And so I think the first step in that is support to the project launching, which is what this next phase will be. Leandro, there were some questions about, in like what's different between the June motion and the July motion. And so if you can just take a minute before we close on that.
Absolutely. The June motion was effectively the support on behalf of the supervisors to offer a budget for the stabilization of the building. In other words, it didn't pay for all of the seismic work, but it gets us to a place where we can stabilize the property to then begin the process necessary. It's important by California law that we don't get multiple approvals lumped into one vote. And so concepts related to creating the master plan had to be done separately than the stabilization. So two different concepts. One is stabilization, one is the creation of the master plan.
Very, very helpful. And in context for the wellness center, we're going to be engaging wellness center partners because it also starts to move us in the direction of, because the property will be with you now at Centennial, right? How do we engage as a site partner right here and in our move and in our transition? So for those of you who are part of the wellness center, we'll have that conversation with you separately. But again, this is now where the project starts to get to its critical phases of startup and direction. And then, of course, we'll have more time for the master plan and community benefits agreement. So any questions from anyone before we close? I know we are at time. Just want to make sure that any questions are answered. And please know if you hear from us multiple times, it really just is about ensuring that we, are able to gain your
We lose Rosa?
Yes.
I think so.
Oops. She may not know.
Hi, everybody. Give me a couple minutes. Let me reach out to Rosa to see what happened. Give me 1 second.
Thank you, Elijah.
Giovanna, I'm going to exit the room because they have to redo it. And
Okay.
so HICP, I will talk to you all very soon. Thank you very much.
Leandro, see you soon.
Sounds good. I believe we have Rosa back.
I am back. Apologies for that. I don't know what happened, but just wanted to thank everyone. I'm glad that not everyone was jumped off when I did, but just appreciating that a lot of effort is going on through very difficult times, and so just appreciating all of you coming and being a part of this incredible conversation. We'll continue to work to keep our community safe, to bring information out, and to ensure that we are always addressing the most critical issues of our community with all of you. So have a wonderful rest of your day today and rest of your month. And please reach out if there are ways that we can create space for our community to continue to dialogue on these issues. Have a wonderful month, everyone.